Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is okay this evening. Let me check my mic. Always check your mic before you start your show because you may be saying the best thing on the planet, the greatest thing ever said, the thing that your society and your generation needs in order to get over. And the only person that hears it is you. And you're out there telling everybody, yes, but it was the greatest thing ever said. You only have to take my word for it. All right, so one thing, the ghastly little logo that's at the bottom, that's because my channel has been demonetized until September, hopefully until September, at which point I could reapply. But up to this point, that means essentially I'm doing videos for free, or at the very best of glances, I'm doing it for patrons. So if you would like to contribute to the show through Super Chat, you can do it now through an alternative, which is a link at the bottom of the description box. That's not saying you need to. That's not a push. That's just a heads up that you can. Oh, by the way, also, I want to thank the last gentleman that did. He did it when there was no video going. James Quinn. I've sent a few bucks to all my demonetized people, but I realized this today and needed to make it right. Keep up the good work. Thank you, James Quinn. I appreciate it. All right, so let's go into the news. Susie Dawson sent me a direct message on Twitter. And on that direct message, she sent me a video interview with Julian Assange. I had never seen this interview. It is a bombshell interview. Unfortunately, it took place back in 2016. Julian Assange asks directly about the Russia stuff. Did we give you the information? Hillary Clinton said it was the goddamn Russians. And in saying it was the goddamn Russians, saying that you were a Russian agent and you were working for the Russians, are you, Julian Assange, working for the Russians? Are you a Ruski? Are you a plant? Are you an agent? Are you somebody there to topple democracy itself and take out Hillary Clinton? Is that what you're there for? Julian Assange has a very slow way of talking, and so this answer will take a little bit of time. He has a slow way of talking. So I'm going to show a few minutes of this clip. The entirety of the interview is amazing because Julian Assange hits on all sorts of topics. This is just one. He hits on what's taking place in Turkey, the perspective of the Turkish government that is not necessarily talked about in the United States. This idea that the CIA or the United States has something to do with the coup in Turkey, and that the guy who did it was sitting in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania somewhere. There's that. There's all sorts of stuff that's in his interview that's amazing to hear. The thing for the Clinton Foundation, the money that Clinton was getting. Some of the stuff you already know. You're working in the State Department while taking money from foreign sources and doing favor for those foreign sources. That looks like you're being bribed. That looks like you're being bribed on a massive fucking level. Nobody says anything about it. What would have happened if the scrutiny that Trump is getting now was applied to the Clinton Foundation during the election? What would have happened? Let's take a look at the interview. The interview is really good, but I'm only going to show a portion of this because I don't want them to say I'm copying videos again. Fuckers. I'm bitter. I'm very bitter. They're taking me out of $1,000, $2,000. Julian Assange interview. It's a damn good interview. Watch for yourself. I'll put the link at the bottom.
I was a Mossad agent. I'm not sure actually that's particularly helpful. Cat torture, CIA agent, etc. So it's expected with our publications. RT is obviously of interest to people that are interested in Russia, and Russia has been brought up by Hillary Clinton most recently, just a few days ago, on Fox. So I think it is necessary to address what WikiLeaks feels is its perception of its own publication to the RT audience.
So when you started WikiLeaks, obviously the Afghan war logs, these different leaks that you presented to the world gave us a context about the so-called war on terror, the atrocities by UK, US-backed forces. Did you ever think WikiLeaks was going to change the outcome of a US presidential election?
Well, Our proponents argue that we have shifted outcomes in improving election.
Understand what that means if that's true. Understand what that means. If it is indeed true that the information that Julian Assange released shifted the outcome of the election, there was a group of people who was going to vote for Hillary Clinton and decided, I looked at these documents, I didn't like what I saw about Hillary Clinton, and I ran in the opposite direction. That's what we're saying. If we're saying that the documents shifted the outcome of the election, we're saying that enough people saw what was in Wikileaks and ran the other way. The thing is, and the stinging truth about that statement that they don't necessarily like to talk about, they instead just like to say attack democracy, is that the factually true information that Julian Assange released was essentially shedding a window into the Clinton Foundation and to Clinton herself. If they're looking at that and they're saying, oh my God, I can't vote for that woman, running in the other way. I'm running in the opposite direction. You're cheating Bernie Sanders. I'm running in the opposite direction. If that's indeed what that's showing, then that's true information being given to the population, and that population making a judgment based on the factual true information that was at their disposal. The counter argument to that is allow the people to vote in the dark. The propaganda that the person has put around themselves allow people to vote for that. How dare you tell people the truth about my candidate? How dare you? We're lying to these people perfectly well, and you come in telling them the truth. You bastards. You're cheating the campaign. You're cheating against us by releasing factually true information. I just think the narrative is pretty amazing. Is that really the argument that you want to make? When people saw more of my candidate, they recoiled and ran in the opposite direction. I'm just saying, that's the argument they continuously make. But they make that argument purely from the standpoint of they've attacked democracy. Missing the point that they attacked democracy by showing the Democratic Party was attacking democracy. I'm just saying that's an amazing argument. They make that argument all the time, conflating what's being said in the way that they're talking about it. Let's keep going.
Election, we've been involved in removing the intelligence heads of a number of countries as a result of our publications and the public accountability that has come from it. I think it remains to be seen, right? And also the upcoming WikiLeaks publications to do with the presidential election, those can go either way.
Hillary Clinton says she has proof that it comes from a Russian hack. Is that...
Well, she is very sneaky. She made a sneaky statement on Fox, which contains elements which are simply strictly false, and other ones where she's sort of trying to push through a very small gap.
Hillary Clinton just said, we know Russian intelligence agencies hacked into the DNC. We know they arranged for emails to be released.
All right, two things here. Two things. First, he's answered that question straightforwardly. He's answered the question straightforwardly, meaning, did you get these from the Russians? No. In fact, I'm going to let him finish this answer before I break into this. So I'm going to play this back a little bit.
Very sneaky. She made I think it remains to be seen, right? And also the upcoming WikiLeaks publications to do with the presidential election, those can go either way.
Hillary Clinton says she has proof that it comes from a Russian hack. Is that...
Well, she is very sneaky. She made a sneaky statement on Fox, which contains elements which are simply strictly false, and other ones where she's sort of trying to push the truth through a very small gap.
Hillary Clinton just said, we know Russian intelligence agencies hacked into the DNC. We know they arranged for emails to be released.
Yeah, so actually she has a slight variant on the we know. I don't think she says emails, I think she says some documents. Because
She's by UK-US backed forces. Did you ever think WikiLeaks was going to change the outcome of a US presidential
Restarting this. I want to hear the beginning of this one more time.
Our proponents argue that we have shifted outcomes in improving election, Kenyan election. We've been involved in removing the intelligence heads of a number of countries as a result of our publications, and the public accounting has come from it. I think it remains to be seen, right? And also the upcoming WikiLeaks publications to do with the presidential election, those can go either way.
Hillary Clinton says she has proof that it comes from a Russian hack. Is that...
Well, she is very sneaky. She made a sneaky statement on Fox, which contains elements which are simply strictly false, and other ones where she's sort of trying to push the truth through a very small gap.
Hillary Clinton just said, we know Russian intelligence agencies hacked into the DNC. We know they arranged for emails to be released.
Yeah, so actually she has a slight variant on the we know. I don't think she says emails, I think she says some documents. Because the difference here is that do state actors hack the political organizations of different countries? Does the United States government do it? Absolutely. Of course, it hacks the political parties of many different countries. Does French intelligence, Chinese intelligence, Russian intelligence hack political parties in order to collect intelligence? Yes. Did they hack the DNC? Has at least one state actor hacked the DNC? Probably. Now, this is a separate question to the release of our emails. So in the US media, there's been a deliberate conflation between DNC leaks, which is what we've been publishing, and DNC hacks of the US Democratic Party, which have occurred over the last 2 years, by their own admission, a number of times.
You're not going to sue for defamation, though, given all the people saying that you were endangering the life.
Did you hear that? He made a conflation, or he's making the point that the US media conflates the leaks between the hacks, if that makes sense. That there's a difference between those things. He's publishing the leaks. They're talking about the hacks, but he's going to continue with this because he's going to make the point about Russian language being found in one, but the ones that he received had no Russian language associated with it at all. And the catch to this is, of all the people on the planet that will know who had something to do with it, meaning who gave him that information, he would be the person to know. They should give him immunity. Rand Paul is right. Rand Paul comes out and says they should give him immunity if they're going to let him testify. And that is true. They should let him testify and be done with this. Fact is, though, he's already made the point that this wasn't the Russians. Let's keep going. He's going to finish.
Lives of people and all manner of accusations about this set of DNC come out. You don't plan on taking legal action?
Well, we look carefully. I mean, we sometimes do take legal action where there's a strict liability, and when we can show that someone knew that what they were saying was untrue. If it gets too bad in this case, then unfortunately that's what you have to do, because if there's no incentive to encourage people to say the truth and they won't do it by themselves, then unfortunately you have to take action. I think this statement by Hillary Clinton on Fox really does need to be tackled, because it concerns us directly in our publications. What she is attempting to do is to conflate our publication of pristine emails. No one in the Democratic Party argues that even a single email is not completely valid. It hasn't been done. And the head of the DNC, Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, has rolled as a result. And whatever hacking has occurred of the DNC or other political organisations in the United States by a range of actors. Now, in the middle, we have something which is the publication by other media organisations of information purportedly from the DNC, and it seems to be the case. So that's a series of Word documents and PDFs published by The Hill, by Gorka, by The Smoking Gun. This is a completely separate batch of documents compared to the 20,000 pristine emails that we released. In this...
Do you hear what he's saying? He's saying there's a difference in the documents, that there's a conflation that's being made within the difference between the emails that they publish versus the documents some of the other organizations publish. He's saying that, yeah, the DNC had been hacked. Hillary Clinton is right that the DNC was hacked. It had been hacked by a range of actors, but that is a difference between that hacked versus the emails that were released via Wikileaks. I hope that makes sense. The media conflates the two as if the two are exactly the same. They're not the same. The emails were something different. Let's keep going. I'm letting him finish this because I want him to complete his thought. He's a slow talker.
This batch of documents released by these other media organizations, there are claims that in the metadata, there's someone's done a document to PDF conversion, and that in some cases, the documents, the language of the computer that was used for that conversion was Russian. Okay, so that's the circumstantial evidence that some Russian was involved, or wanted to make it look like a Russian was involved.
Circumstantial. I mean, after all, FBI never reviewed the servers. They never gave the servers over to the FBI. They gave it over to an organization affiliated with the Democratic Party. And it was evidence from that all of these supposed other organizations that handpicked people from these organizations evaluated the information saying Russia has something to do with it. So let's keep going.
With these other media organizations. That's not the case for the material that we released. The Hillary Clinton campaign has a serious problem in trying to work out how to counterspin the publication. Why do they have such a problem? Well,
right there. He just said it wasn't the Russians. The other documents that were released had Russian lettering or something on it. But those are being conflated. Documents that WikiLeaks published, the emails, those emails had no Russian lettering on anything. This is what he's getting at. There's a difference in those things. He's making the point that it wasn't the Russians. Everyone keeps saying it was the Russians, it was the Russians, it was the Russians, and the one person that would know, the one person in all the planet that would know, is saying, it's not the Russians. He said this years ago. This wasn't something that he's saying today. This was something he said years ago. He had already answered the question that it wasn't the Russians. I remember seeing him on somewhere else saying it wasn't the Russians. And I looked and was like, but of all the people to know, wouldn't it be Julian Assange? Wouldn't the person to know? And I remember, I forget, it was a Washington Post or some other newspaper discounting Assange as a reasonable person to know this question. I found that to be utterly ludicrous. 2016, Julian Assange answering this question. It wasn't the Russians. Nobody wanted to hear him. 2017, It wasn't the Russians. Nobody wanted to hear him. In 2018, they shut him up. He couldn't even communicate. There was a person in Ecuador that was working in tandem, meaning the president, working in tandem with the United States government, shut Assange up. So now nobody knows what Assange has to say. There's a potential for Assange to come to the, I guess it was either House or the Senate, I don't know which one, but to essentially give testimony about what he knows. Now, most likely, knowing Assange or from his previous actions, he's not necessarily going to give the person who gave up that information, but he may give information around the person who gave up that information, kind of like this, saying it wasn't the Russians. It wasn't the Russians. Stephen Carl. Jamal, he went on Richard Eskow's show a few times to discuss how it wasn't the Russians. He keeps saying it wasn't the Russians. He's very clear on who it wasn't. You have a political establishment here that has built its fortunes around, however, Donald Trump working with the Russians in order to attack democracy itself. Centrist headquarters. Julian Assange was working with the Russians. How do we know? He told us he was in communications between himself and Donald Trump Jr. I don't hate the man, but he's not entirely being honest. Look, I would agree with you on this. I think any person who's a journalist may create associations with people in various political positions that are in power. It doesn't necessarily shock me that Julian Assange will try to get, let's say, tax returns or try to get information from, let's say, Donald Trump. I would imagine as a journalist, they go about trying to get information from all sorts of sources. If you ask me, did he dislike Hillary Clinton? It's possible. And there are certain people, his beheading or at the very least him being shot, I would imagine, yeah, you would probably dislike those people. But nothing he's ever released was wrong. Like, whatever you want to say, that's somewhat of something that you kind of have to deal with. Nothing that Assange has ever released has been shown to be wrong. Dennis Kucinich and Craig Murray helped Seth Rich before he was killed. I don't know if that's true, maybe. Wow, is that a bug? That's not my name. No, it looks like a donkey, Tim, at least on mine. Trina would be fine. Assange is a killjoy. They wanted to be the Russians and he's just ruining it. Yeah, pretty much. Trina be fine. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it was a leak. He knows it was a leak. The Clinton camp knew it was a leak. And they were stuck with this political problem of how do we deal with damaging information, damaging emails coming out about us? How do we deal with that? Talking about our foundation, talking about us cheating Sanders. How do we deal with that political problem? You call it the Russians. You call it the Russians. You scream at the top of your lungs and you call it the Russians. We have one planet. JA isn't locked up for publishing DNC stolen emails. Julian Assange isn't locked up for being, no, he's locked up for publishing information they don't want shown. And yeah, it goes beyond the emails. You can imagine anyone who's publishing information that goes, what's going on in the background, the scenes of power in this way. Unvarnished. Like it's somebody doctoring it. It's not somebody giving their interpretation of it. Here's the information. You see it for yourself. You make your own appraisal. That's WikiLeaks. That's what they've always done. That's what they've always done. And to some degree, the reason why people trust them is because of that specific reason. Remember when Donna Brazil was a teary-eyed about Seth Rich? Yes. Remember Assange offered $20,000 for any info surrounding his death? Yes, I do. Kinky, I do. Absolutely, I do. Russia is just the DNC's WMD being used to keep fearful sheep in the pen. Bob Ramirez, yes. Bob, on this, completely agree. Digital tyranny. This has been happening on a lot of channels lately. I don't see the other part. Wesley Walker. I keep having to refresh. He's frozen 3 times already during the stream. Really? I don't see myself freezing. Let me check the stream itself. Well, the stream health looks good, Wes. There's so many versions of this narrative allows people pushing it to point to one iteration, change, obscure the topic. Yeah. The emails are legit. Publishing wasn't a crime. The crime was stealing the DNC documents. Well, he was just the publisher. He wasn't a theft. I mean, he wasn't a thief. Yes, he's freezing like crazy. Really, I am not seeing it. Stream looks solid. I guess it's freeze for everybody. I wonder if it's the background. Let me see. What if I kill the background? I'm on the moon. Let's get rid of the moon. All right. And it's YouTube. Yeah, you're saying it's YouTube. Stream is perfect on my end. Justin Burden. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Alien tech is jamming the Wi-Fi signal. All right, this is what I'll do, guys. On the next video, I will get rid of the back stuff, the green screen, and I'll see if that removes the freezing. And see if that does it. Because, I don't know, sometimes you change something and it screws up something else. It's bandwidth, or is it his end? Let's see. Make sure it's not my end, guys. Wait a minute. Okay. Let's kill this. It's not letting me kill that. Yeah, I'll have to check it after the video's over with. All right. Yeah, I'm about to head out. All right, so I'm going to end this. I have another video after this one. But for those who said that, you know, who's the source? Where did Julian Assange get the information from? How did he get the information? For all of those people who scream at the top of their lungs about the Russians, Julian Assange is being very clear. It wasn't the Russians. It wasn't the Russians. I will leave this there. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. I'm going to get rid of the stuff in the back and see if that fixes the freezing that you guys are experiencing, because I'm not seeing it, and it seems like... Oh, maybe I am having it. Okay. Maybe I am having it. All right. I'll see what's going on in the back end, see if it's me or if this is YouTube. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.